New cornerback you guys signed, is he a special teams guy that can help?
He has played a little bit of special teams in the preseason. He's got good size and length and has pretty good speed. So we'll just try to bring him along as fast as we can.
What was your for your group? What was your focus during the bye week? Do you kind of take a bigger look at things, or are you very specific?
Yeah, we looked at all 6 phases and came up with areas that we need to improve on in each phase, pretty much. So we'll look to get a lot of that work in, this week and moving forward.
Corey's numbers are really good. Have you seen a big jump in his consistency from last year?
I think his directional placement has improved. I think his, I would say, the plus 50 stuff has been more consistent to be able to have placement inside. He's hit a number of balls inside the 10 and inside the 5, so I think he's done a good job with that.
How would you assess the way your special teams have played at this point in the season?
I would say we played solid in some areas, not so solid in other areas. We got to be more consistent to be able to have the consistent results we need. Obviously, we give up a couple big plays, made a few big plays. Just got to be more consistent to eliminate bad football.
What aspect of which one of those 6 phases you feel like has made the most improvement just from game 1 to game to now?
I don't know if I could pinpoint just one phase, honestly. I think we need to improve in all 6 of them, to be honest.
Was there one that you felt like
we need more improvement in?
Where you saw the most?
From game 1 till now?
From game 1 till now, I guess. Sort of the pleasing kind of growth you wanted to see.
I don't have one. I couldn't name one, honestly.
You got like Darren Rizzi get promoted to the interim job, and there's talk about special teams coaches not getting their shot to be the head coach enough.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I feel like, the special teams coordinators, and I am one, obviously, so we have a hand in everything on the roster. We coach the entire team. We have all 6 phases. We coach situational football. We know the personnel, the roster management relative to, inactives and guys that are up and down for the game. So I think that, there's been a history of really successful special teams guys that have been head coaches, most notably Bill Belichick and then John Harbaugh. So not many opportunities have been given to us, but I think Rizzi will do a good job. I've had the pleasure of going against him for really the last 25 years. He coached against me. I was just thinking about the times I've gone against him in the past, playing and coaching. When I was at Villanova as a freshman, he was a head coach at University of New Haven, Division II, and they beat us at Villanova on a Friday night. And after that, after he was at New Haven, went to Rutgers, and he was a special teams coordinator at Rutgers, and we ended up beating them the next year when he was a special teams coordinator. So I've gone against him quite a bit, obviously, played against his units, coached against his units. When I was in New England, he was in Miami. But he's a really good football coach, and I know that he'll do a really good job down there. Hopefully just not too good this week.
Why do you think that guys in your position don't get more opportunities at the big job?
I don't know. Honestly, I read some things that he said, when you hire a special teams guy, it's really not a quote splash hire. So I think that probably has a lot to do with it. But he's been a really good coach. He's been a good head coach in his career. So, and I think that there's really good special teams coordinators that could be really good head coaches.
There's been a bit of an uptick in kicker injuries around the league, and they're trying to figure out if there's a correlation between maybe these guys trying longer kicks, more strain on the muscles, whatever. Anyway, it's just a theory in part. I know your situation is different because Dustin, takes some days off or whatever.
Yeah.
kind of, how beneficial has that been for him? And is that something that you would do regardless of who your kicker was, just to mitigate the possibility of there being an injury?
No, I think you cater to your personnel regardless of what phase it is. I think for him, at this stage in his career, the volume of kicks that he needs in practice to be ready to go in a game is lesser than a younger player, I would say. But I would cater to any guy that I would need to.
Some of your young guys, especially like Nathaniel Watson, kind of handle their roles and maybe grow and learn from the first week into now you're out of the bye week heading into this game against the Saints?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that question today in the meeting. I just talked about young players, and the things that I like most about being a coach is seeing the development of your players over the course of a season and over their careers. I get a phone call last night from a kid that I coached in Indianapolis, EJ Speed, and I talked to my guys today about, when he first came into the league, we drafted him. He was a 5th-round pick, and was green, and he was not ready to play in certain phases, and really the punt unit, and just talking about how you really have to put the time in and the effort to get the techniques down to be reliable and accountable to those units. And after his first 2 seasons, we just had a conversation that, look, this is what we need to do for you to be able to be I would say an asset to the team and to the punt unit. He went and worked tirelessly this one off season, sent me a bunch of videos, and we corrected his technique. Comes back and ended up being probably one of, if not our best player on that unit, and then has ascended his role, and now I think he's like 3rd or 4th in the league in defensive tackles. Had an interception last week. Gave him some crap about him not taking it back to the house. But to your question, the young guys have definitely came a long way since they've gotten here. Nathaniel, Winston, those guys have done a really good job of progressing, learning the techniques, applying them each day in practice, making the corrections, being more accountable, doing things at a higher level, as the season has gone along.
Do you see any of those young guys on that same plane as like EJ Speed, as you gave an example?
Yeah, I think Winston Reed has done a heck of a job. He's made a lot of impact plays for us. Physical kid, fast, tough. I think he's done a good job. I think a lot of these rookies have done a pretty solid job. The guys that we've been able to get playing time to.
Did you get you were interviewed by the Colts for head coach, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago.
It's more of a formality, but
I was going to ask you what that experience was like for you.
I mean, it was a good experience. I knew that we knew they were going to hire an offensive coach.
Do you think you benefited from the experience of being interviewed for?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Learned a lot of things from it.
Do you think special teams coordinators are sort of like catchers? A lot of catchers go on to book. A lot of managers are former catchers. They seem to know
The game in its entirety. Yeah, it's a good comp. So what's the question?
I'm asking, do you feel like you're like a
Catcher?
in that because you get to coach so many different.
I guess I could be. I guess yeah. Sounds good.
Colts interview, did they ask you what your projected staff would be?
No.
Dale at all?
Didn't get into detail about how I would hire my staff. I have a good one in mind though.
Were you prepared?
Yeah.
To give?
Yes.
Bubba, going back to May, what are the chances then that Winston Reed is on this team?
Say that again.
Winston Reed being an undrafted guy coming to such an experienced team.
Yeah.
What when he first gets here, what kind of long shot is he?
I would say for any undrafted guy, I know firsthand I was undrafted, you have to be willing to do whatever you're asked to do and put in the work and the time to get down the techniques. And you have to buy into and you have to understand that the way that you're going to make it as an undrafted player, especially as an undrafted defensive player that's a DB or a linebacker, you're going to have to make it in the kicking game. It's inevitable. That's the way that you're going to have to make it. Because if you can't contribute in the kicking game, it's hard to be able to say, okay, this guy's going to be on the team if he can only play on defense.
Kind of, I guess, willing to embrace those unconventional things, because I mean, he was even running some of those jumbo packages on offense the one week. How has he just embraced, all these different roles you guys have thrown at him as a staff?
I would say for him specifically, I think that he's very focused. He's, I would say, a lot more mature than you would see most rookies be. He's very businesslike, and he does work extremely hard. He is smart. And he's got a good skill set. I mean, he's tough. He's physical. He's probably our strongest player. I mean, except for I would say the offensive lineman, if I had to guess. But no, he's done a really good job for us.
Can you tell, like, right away with a guy like that? Is there something you see, like, right away? Hey, this guy's got a chance.
For sure. Yeah, I think the movement skills, how fast they pick up the techniques, how fast they pick it up mentally. I think you can see it early on.
Look at this Saints team and their record. What makes you think, if you do, that they're not really a 3-7 football team?
No, they're not a 3-7 football. They are. I mean, they're obviously, their record is what it is. Ours is what it is. But they had a lot of injuries early in the season, and they obviously didn't have their quarterback. They're a really good special teams unit, top to bottom. They do a really nice job in the return game. They cover well. I think Rizzy does a good job, and those guys, they've done a good job. The kicker's been accurate.
I think the longest return is 29 yards, kickoff or punt, for the Browns this year. Why is it? Why haven't you been able to unlock that part of the game?
Yeah, I would say I feel like the production in the punt return game has been solid. We definitely need to improve in the kick return area, and that'll be an emphasis for us moving forward.
There have been more touchbacks with this new kick return rule than you anticipated.
No, I think the return rate's about what I expected it to be. I think that, some teams, and I think everything is relative to the opponent, where the game's being played, who the returner is, the type of offense you're going against. I think a lot of those decisions are made each week per game plan, per team. So, but I think that it's about what I expected. It's definitely up a lot compared to the most recent years.
Pretty good. Thanks.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Bubba.
right.
Ken, Jameis talked about, his time in New Orleans, and specifically that first year working with Sean and Drew. Where can you maybe, from your own experiences, like see the imprint of, those two on what you see out of Jameis? What you know of them to what you've seen with Jameis.
Yeah, I think the detail of his preparation, he does a great job watching tape, having a good understanding from the moment he walks in the building of kind of why things are going in based off of what he's seen. So the preparations piece of it, I think the attention to detail with the game planning of when you run a rep, okay, I'm throwing the ball here in a walkthrough, but then I'm kind of mentally going through the rest of my read and progressing through like Drew used to do. I think that's something that pops up in my mind. I think he's very, very in tune to, hey, why are we doing these things? Why do we want to run these plays against those looks and whatnot? What are we trying to get done? And just those, he really likes that communication back and forth between myself, Kevin, and himself, just like I think Drew and Sean had.
When you look back at the first 9 games, what did you see as the biggest issues with the run game?
Yeah, I think when you look back at it, you evaluate, okay, what schemes have been effective for us, what schemes have not been effective for us, and why. Is it an execution piece? Is it a versus the looks we're getting piece? That type of thing. So I think when you go back and look at it, there's some concepts that hey, we've run very well. Whether it was the start of the season till now, and there's some concepts that we weren't as effective in. So it's curtailing the run game to make sure we're maximizing those effective concepts and cutting back on the less effective concepts without becoming one-dimensional as an offense. So I think when you look at that stuff, yes, there's things that overall hasn't been as effective, but then there's also things that have been very effective, and we want to obviously lean on those things in terms of what guys are most comfortable running and we can execute at a high level. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. What matters is what can we execute at a high level against whatever look they throw at us. Because in the course of the game, there's going to be those unscouted look. There's going to be things that happen. Maybe that 3 technique wasn't supposed to go outside, but he did. And your rules have to be able to account for that and still be able to execute a play at a high level. So I think that's the thing that we really looked at is, all right, what do we want to really kind of hang our hat on? What do we want to kind of scale back? And then where's that execution piece on these things to where those guys know exactly what to do, how to do it, no matter what the defense does.
The Saints intercept the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they do that? And is that a little daunting to you as you game plan for this game?
I mean, I would say daunting. I think every defense poses their issues and poses what they do well. Obviously, this one, they do a great job at taking the football away. They're aggressive. I think the why behind it is, one, they've got schematically, they create some issues in terms of post-snap, doing some different things, showing looks and then running out and giving you different looks up front, especially on 3rd down. I think that's one big thing. I think the other thing is they've got players who are effective at it. They've got aggressive safeties, physical corners that'll come up and press you and get hands on you. And I think that's the scheme of how they do things is really what they're taught. They're taught to be aggressive and they're taught to play that way, and they do it effectively.
What is your messaging to Jameis Winston when you head into a game like this and he's coming off some picks and some drop picks and you're going into an aggressive secondary like
That's a good question. I think the big thing that we preach is we got to trust our eyes, trust what we see out there. So I think when you do that as a quarterback and you trust your progressions, everything else takes care of itself. There's no need to force anything. There's no need to feel like, hey, I got to make a play right here. The plays come through just trusting our eyes and trusting our progression. And at times, yeah, there's a clear out, there's a go route that's a clear out, but we might take that at times because you get a look that it's advantageous. So we want to play smart, not conservative at the position. And to do that, you got to trust progressions, trust your eyes, and trust what you see on game day so you can play fast.
What was the biggest difference between the Ravens game to the Chargers game in terms of offensive efficiency?
I think the turnovers, obviously, I think those things happen, and you got to be able to overcome those things. I think that obviously the Chargers, they've done a great job defensively. When you look at them, I believe they haven't, they've limited teams in points and things like that. I think we had some good opportunities. We just couldn't capitalize on them, and I think that's the thought process for us is let's go capitalize on every opportunity in terms of just winning that play and having that focus. And then whatever's happening in the course of the game, whether you're up, whether you're down, there's no need to press. There's no need to feel like, hey, this one play is going to make up this differential. So I think that's the biggest thing for us. So you just got to keep chopping wood. You got to keep plugging away and have that mindset of no matter what's happening in the course of the game, we're going to keep friggin' plugging and give ourselves an opportunity to win by capitalizing on just that opportunity on that play that's presenting itself.
What's been the difference you've seen in Cedric the last couple of weeks, and as you watch his film and critique it, does this kind of look like it's a little more than just a small sample size of success for him? Like, do you look at it and really see a high ceiling for him?
I think his confidence is really kind of growing more and more with the opportunities he's getting. I think he's playing extremely fast. I think he's playing to his size. So he's playing big at times out there, and he's playing fast, So he's utilizing his skill set in a manner that you would like to see for a guy his size and his athletic ability. And I think that's the encouraging thing about it. We ask him to do a lot for us, and he embraces that, and he does it. He's doing it at a high level, and he just keeps growing more and more. And he's really taking that growth mindset that you want from every player of continue to improve each and every week, playing with confidence, and I think you really see that. And the encouraging thing is, he's taken his bumps, and he's had some negative plays early in the year and some things that I'm sure he would have wanted to do better, but he was able to continue to overcome that, continue to keep his confidence and grow as the season's gone here and really become a key factor for us.
And can I have one more on the running game? We talked to Nick Chubb yesterday, and I asked him if the blocking schemes have changed from last year. From the past. He says no, but we're just not doing it at the same level. So why do you suppose the blocking isn't the same level as it was in the past? I know you weren't here before.
I think that's something that we just got to continue to preach as coaches to make sure that we're operating at the level that we're capable of. Obviously, when you look at, we've had some guys in and out, some different lineups, and things like that. But in this league, that really doesn't matter. It's whoever's out there, you've got to go out and you got to execute, and you've got to be able to operate as one unit. Those five guys, and I think we're growing there. I think we're getting better there, and you've seen progress. Obviously, it's not the where we want to be right now as a whole offense and from our record and what we're doing. But I do think that cohesiveness is coming and you see that at times. We just got to, as coaches, push and preach that, there's a way to do it and we got to operate at that level on a consistent basis, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Ken, with you guys trying DeWand over on the left side, just how has he graded out and done in those first couple of games, and what do you guys want to see from him as you guys keep starting him over there?
Yeah, I think the big thing from offensive line standpoint is if they, if you don't really notice them, then they're doing something good. You know what I mean? So I think that's been the positive thing for him. And DeWand's a young player, and every rep that he gets in a game is only gonna help him in terms of his development. So in games and practices, and I think that's the great part about him is you see him, he's out there, he's working hard. He's trying to put himself in position to be the best player he can possibly be. So I think he's grown, and that was something we've talked about, throughout the year and dating back based off of where we were at health-wise early in the season. And it's been exciting for us as coaches to see him take that step over there, not blink, not not have any doubt, just go out there and do it at a high level. And he's played some good rushers, whether it's on the left side or right side, and he continues to grow and continues to compete over there at a high level.
I know there's elite pass rushers on both sides, but do you still, I know in the old days the left tackle was viewed as the guy. Do you still view it like that the left tackle is maybe more important than a right tackle for whatever reason schematically?
I think to your point, I think it's kind of balanced out a little bit. I think a lot of teams are starting to put some of those premier rushers on both sides, and guys move around so much now as it is, whether it's guys jumping from one side or the other, or they're just putting premier guys on the right side. It's really kind of balanced out, in my opinion. You really need effectiveness from both sides, and those guys. Fortunately, I think we've got two experienced guys that can compete and do that at a high level. But yeah, I think you need both those guys to be effective in a lot of areas nowadays because of, to your point, you got elite guys on either side, either because they'll just line them up there or they'll move guys around.
Obviously, this season hasn't gone how you guys expected it. 2-7 here. Offense hasn't looked as good as obviously you wanted to. Do you feel that pressure on you specifically, personally, going to needing your fastball to finish off these last few games here?
The only thing I'm focused on is this offense operating at a level that we want to get it to, and that's all I'm worried about. I'm just worried about our guys and competing and going out and executing at a high level and controlling what I can control, just like I want my players to do. I want my players to control what they control, go out and give me everything you got during the week in preparation, let it fly on game day, and operate at a high level. And that's what the expectation is for us as coaches in terms of what we ask out of our players. And so I think that's the approach that we just have to take day in and day out.
We talked so much about the run game, but with Nick specifically, last game it seemed like he had a couple of those bursts where he was kind of breaking out and getting a few extra yards. Does it feel like he's close to sort of getting back to that version of himself where he's like breaking those even bigger? And how much can that help you guys alleviate some of the problems you've had in the run game as well?
I mean, Nick's, one of the best running backs in this league, so I think having him out there at a level that you're starting to see from him is something that we definitely want. And the important thing, whether it's quarterback or running back, I think sometimes, it's such a reliant position that we all have to do our job executing for those guys to be successful too. But the exciting thing about Nick is if you get him to the second level, he can make guys miss. He can run away from guys. And I think, from our aspect, it's exciting to see him continue to feel more and more comfortable and like himself. And that can only help us as we continue to go here.
Last one. Coming out of the bye, when you are looking at this back half of the schedule, are you expecting guys like maybe Jamari Thrash, who haven't had a lot of playing time, to get more playing time? Or is it more about just them playing the waiting game, or even just developing in practice before you see them out there getting more reps? Yeah, I think every week kind of takes on a mind of its own a little bit. So we always evaluate those things in terms of who we got out there in route concept wise, and it's a competitive league. If you're playing an opponent or within your roster, and all those guys are competing for playing time. So that's why we want to come out and work and organizations about competing, and I think we want to do that in practice against the defense, and our guys want to push each other for those roles and for those opportunities. So we feel really good about that room in terms of receivers and what we have in there, and we've got some young guys who I think can contribute and want to, and we'll just evaluate that on a weekly basis as we continue to go. All right. Thank you.